Welcome to Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. My name is Wes Dove, and I have the distinct honor and privilege today to host our friend Nell-Marie Colman. Now, Cindy and I met Gil Colman, Nell-Marie's husband, maybe close to 10 years ago when we did a weekend board retreat with the Central Shenandoah Valley Habitat for Humanity group. The board, I think Gil, at that point in time, I believe he was the vice president or the president of the board. I can't remember which. But that relationship grew over the years. And not long after we met Gil, we got to meet Nell-Marie. And that's been such a wonderful experience because she's absolutely amazing. It's so cool to have people so much smarter than us in our lives because, gosh, it makes us better. It stretches us and so on. But Nell-Marie brings a tremendous background. She, for so many years, worked in technical writing at a very, very high level for some major AI firms before AI firms were commonplace, before you knew about them. So I won't talk about much of that because I'll butcher it, but I will let Nell-Marie share some of that if she chooses to. What she does now is kind of oversees operations for Colman Engineering, and they've grown substantially. Gil started the company, I believe, 16 years ago now. Nell-Marie joined him about 2 years ago. And to watch the change in the culture, the change in the dynamic, the change in the focus and the scope has been nothing short of amazing. We absolutely love working with them. So without me butchering it anymore, I'm going to turn it over to Nell-Marie to kind of give her professional background and talk about the experience she's had specifically with Colman Engineering over the last 2 years.
Thanks, Wes. I love that you do these and we get to learn about other folks in your world and in our communities and beyond who are doing good things. Communities. So my background is I'm a writer by trade, but not a creative writer. I'm more of a communicator of information. And my favorite thing to do is to take really complex information and simplify it, make it really accessible for people. That's my favorite thing to do. I love that. I did that for many years, 2 decades, I guess, for different technology companies, because again, technology can be intimidating for people. And so my thing is to take the complex concepts and boil it down. And even if it's just, it could be step by step, how to work through something, or just using normal words to describe really complex technologies, really, and solutions. So that's what I historically have done. But then 2 years ago, Gil and I realized, his business was at a place and our relationship was at a place where we thought we can work together and I can bring the things that I've learned here to Colman Engineering and help the company grow. And so that's what I've been doing for 2 years and it's been great.
You said two different things that I want to go back to before we move forward. One is you take the hard things and make them simple. In Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, one of my favorite books ever in the history of the world by John Maxwell, he talks about how connectors do the hard work of making things simple. And oh my goodness, that's so powerful. Cindy and I do a lesson in our emerging leader development course where we talk about how I quote Albert Einstein in saying, and I don't know if he said it or not, but I've seen it attributed to him, about if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And that's so powerful. And I think back to when I tried to explain how to read a tape measure to our son when he was like 14 or 15 years old. And Nell-Marie, I don't remember learning how to read a tape measure. I grew up around carpentry. And when I'm, however old I was at the time, that's 15, 17 years ago, whatever, when I'm teaching Matt how to do that, I'm thinking, good Lord, boy, how did you get this old and you're still this dumb? But it was something he never had exposure to. And I always had exposure to, and I didn't understand it well enough to explain it simply. So I so admire that that's how you said it. But I've also watched that's the focus you've put on everything you've done at Colman Engineering since you've joined the team there. It's so powerful. Now, the other thing that you said was the business was at a place, but your relationship was at a place that you felt like you could work together. And Cindy and I have done that in some way, shape, or form for almost our entire marriage. But for the last 10 years, we've exclusively worked together. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's very, very hard, but praise God that every day we get to do it. It's never easy, but it's the most rewarding thing we get to do. And we love that we get to work so closely with you guys and a few other husband and wife couples that own and operate their businesses. You're a blessing in our life for that, man. Thanks for sharing that.
That's good.
Based on what you just said. Now, you asked before I hit the go live button, the record button, whatever. You asked, hey, we talked about some similar stuff because you were on one of the panels for our 2025 Leadership Legacy Experience, and we talked about some similar concepts. I'm going to go back to that a little bit. So in that session, Your topic was how, what is that purpose that you landed on that you really wanted to accept leadership responsibility for? And that's what I'm going to ask you here again. You can say the same thing or you can rephrase it. What is that purpose that you've chosen to take leadership responsibility in your previous roles as well as Colman Engineering? Because, gosh, sometimes, Nell-Marie, it's easier to just take a job somewhere and keep our heads down and shut up.
Yeah, absolutely. I th- I think the fact that I do care about people and I care about our community, I'm willing to put myself out there, whatever that looks like. So, yes, I was an individual contributor for a long time. I don't know, maybe probably around COVID was the time that things started to shift for me. And around the time I turned 42, those years don't line up, but do the math. But yeah, I just realized, yeah, I always said when people had offered me opportunities where I would be managing other people, or I didn't want to have anything to do with that. That just sounded really scary to me. But then I had a manager, a leader who really just cared for us and she created space for us to be able to do our best work. And I thought, oh, is that what leadership is? Like, I could do that. I care about people. I want people to do their best work. I want them to have the tools they need. I can advocate for them. This isn't about me. This is about helping other people have the environment where they can thrive. So once that clicked for me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm ready now. Like I might not be ready, but I'm ready to try.
What an amazing response. I would go so far as to say if someone sees leadership as about them, they're not a leader. They might
Yeah.
be in a managerial or supervisor position. They may even own a business. Not leading it is only about them. Leadership, I think, is a verb, and it's a verb, the act
Mm.
of serving other people in a way that they can be their best selves and get the right results, whether that's our customer or client or the teams that we're responsible for. That it's all about framing the view. We'll come back to that with my final formal question. What I'm going to ask you here is based on what you shared, who do you focus on serving? Both the team within Coleman Engineering, but how do you guys as a team focus on serving the segment of the community that you do serve?
Yeah. And it does all build on itself. So as a team, we are focused on serving different segments. Developers are a huge part of it. And Gil often says developers are the people who build our communities. Without developers, you wouldn't have shopping centers, you wouldn't have neighborhoods, they're the ones who are putting their money into building the things that make a community, at least gives the infrastructure to a community. The people are obviously the community, but we need places to go and to get the things we need and to learn and gather. And developers are the ones who put their money up to make that happen, obviously for a return, but without them, those things wouldn't exist. So we're serving developers. We also serve local governments who come to us for our services. And we serve a lot of the local colleges, universities, and in K through 12 private schools. So those are the kind of people that we're serving. But even if it's, it could be an individual who's looking to subdivide their property to put more homes on to serve our communities. It's a wide range, but those are the people that we're trying to serve. And our purpose is engineering for a better world. So we are in everything that we do. We're just looking to do our best job so that the project can be successful and ultimately so that we can make the world a better place, just one project at a time.
I'm going to take it a little bit deeper, and then I want to circle back to something that you said that you saw Gil focus on. For the deeper part first, you're not an engineer by trade.
No.
How do you focus on serving the extremely technical skill sets that make up the team that you're part of?
Part of what I'm doing is because I do have that take in the technical information and make it accessible. I work on workflows and checklists. And so I'm getting to know what the engineers are doing and looking for efficiencies. And not efficiency for efficiency's sake, but if we have, or as we're building repeatable systems, it helps us to be able to focus on what's important. So you're not having to think, oh, what am I supposed to do next? Or where's that tool that I need? Where's that palette? Where's that checklist? I'm organizing all of that stuff so that it's quickly accessible And engineers can focus on engineering, not on trying to find what they need.
And I absolutely love that, Nell-Marie. One of my very first job off of a manufacturing floor from running a press, I moved into implementing a system called, and
Mhm.
so much of that wasn't about changing for the sake of change, like you said. It was about how do we make it so people's work, so that people are already working hard. How do we make it so that hard work that they're already doing is the most effective and efficient it possibly can be? I don't want you to work harder. I want you to get more results from that hard work.
Yeah.
And you and Gil, more than anybody else in my life, have pushed me to be able to do that. Probably 2 years ago, Gil started poking at me about there's things that you're doing manually, you should be using AI for. And I was
Mhm.
very, very averse to that. And today, I've got to give you guys the credit for poking it. I don't let it do my thinking for me, but there's
Right.
certain things that it's been able to help me do that, quite frankly, better than I could do. But it's allowed me to do the things that only I can do at a much higher level and more efficiently. So I appreciate the challenge that you guys have added in my life for that process too. Now, the last thing I want to share is you mentioned building the communities, the developers who build the communities. About a decade ago, I worked for a company in a very related industry to what you're doing. And we were working
Mhm.
through a mission statement, vision statement process. And I was very stern in advocating for the idea of we provide the foundations for the community because the very
Mhm.
specific work they were doing, but most people never saw the work we did, but they were driving on top of it every single day and whether they knew it or not.
Yeah.
And what you guys do doesn't just touch developers. It doesn't just touch schools. It doesn't just touch municipalities and cities. It touches every individual that ever interacts with those developers, those schools, those
Mhm.
municipalities. That's who you're serving in the process. Without the work you're doing, everybody else suffers. And the engineering for a better world is 100% driving how it affects everybody in the periphery.
Mhm. That's right.
Very
Yeah, I like to think of it as the world beneath your feet. So everything that we do is hidden. So it could be it's the water pipes that bring you fresh water to your home and to your business. And then it's the sewer lines that take the bad stuff away and make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. And it's the sidewalks that are safe and take you where you need to go. It's everything beneath your feet. That's what we take care of. And if it's not done well, you notice it. If it's done well, you don't have to think about that.
That's 100% correct. As a quick side parallel, we've been very involved with Virginia Poultry Federation for a decade or so. And often people say, well, I'm not in the poultry industry. And my point with that is we live in Rockingham County, Virginia, and it's often been known as the poultry capital of the world. If you live in this county,
Mhm.
whether you ever touch it, eat it, sleep it, breathe it, you're involved with it in any way, you're still involved in it very heavily because it contributes so much to the tax base. It does all these things. And oh, by the way, you might at some point in time eat chicken or turkey. People don't often recognize how much those industries overlap and impact one another.
Yeah.
With those things in mind, I'll change gears a little bit and really dig into the topic at hand. And we just wrapped up our 2026 Leadership Legacy Experience. And the theme this year was the values advantage, the book. What I want to hear from you now is what's one of your core values and how do you work to model it daily so everybody you interact with, clients, the community, your team, whomever, they feel it in every experience?
Harmony is really the thing that drives everything that I do. And I've learned that through different personality assessments. And it's true. It's like I want people to be happy. I want there to be consensus. So it stresses me out if there's just harmony between me and another person, but I actually really shine when there is disharmony between other individuals or entities helping to bring them together. That's where the magic happens and not just it's not me, it's just I think it's that taking something complex and making it simple. It's like I can take in all of the different factors and constraints and say, "You know what? I think this could be the solution." And that's my favorite thing to do. So, if a client has something that they need, I love finding a solution for them, connecting them with somebody who can solve their problem. I think how they see it is that I'm helpful. I try to be helpful, I'm responsive, and those are the kinds of things that Gil values in our company anyways. They're part of our values. I try to respond to emails, but just in respecting people, trying to value people and show them respect, to be honest. I'm looking at our values here on the wall as my cheat sheet, but Yeah, and growing, trying to learn. So, anyways, but for me, harmony is really the core thing that drives me personally. But that just comes out as trying to serve people and help them to get the solutions that they need.
Gil is blessed to have you in his life. And if he doesn't hear this immediately, you're welcome to say, honey, you need to go back and hear this part that Wes just said.
Mm.
But I'll go so far as to say, Cindy, you and Cindy have very similar communication styles. And
Mhm.
he's an equal blessing in my life because I would be an absolute train wreck without her. I am pretty
Mm.
much a train wreck without her. And not because I don't care about people, not because I don't want harmony, but because I'm willing to stir the pot when I need to. And so is Gil. And I think that's why Gil and I get along. But I also know he cares deeply about people, but you bring a softness to that. And it's just a different dynamic. I'd say God had a plan when he puts two opposite people together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've touched on it. And as you were looking through the respect and the integrity and the values that spell right for engineering, talk about how that value of harmony you've worked to make sure it ties in so closely with the Colman Engineering values that you guys have recently revamped and made sure that you've got behavioral definitions for.
How's harmony worked into that? I know that if we do those things, if we do our values, which are respect, integrity, growth, holistic thinking, and timely communication, that there is harmony. Especially, I think if you, with the integrity piece, being honest, if you're being, for most people, if you're being honest, unless they've got some other issues that need to be dealt with, but you can have harmony. You can if you're so, yeah, these all resonate with me, all of these values, and they do help support a harmonious workplace, harmonious relationship with clients, with regulators, with subs, with everyone that we interact with, builders. If we do all of those things, will go well.
As a team, Colman Engineering has done very, very intentional and extensive work over the last 2 years to make sure not just everyone on the team understands the values, but they understand how they connect with and they live by those values. And it's been just such a wonderful opportunity for me and Cindy to get to watch and have a little bit of a hand in it, but more importantly, to be able to watch the results and to see how the team comes together. I just had a conversation last week about how great of a place you're in and the caliber of people. And not that it's ever been bad, but it's pretty exceptional right now. And
Mhm.
that leads to, gosh, good people want to be a part of good things. And
Mhm.
we're pretty thankful for what we get to see and be a part of there. Now, that leads me, Nell-Marie, to ask, I know a lot of the answers behind this, but talk about some of the things that Coleman Engineering gets involved with to really serve the community outside of the ones that are revenue producing, outside of the ones that are have to things that are part of the natural scope of work, because there's a lot. I alluded to one earlier in how we met Gil, but I know there's a lot more that you guys are involved.
Yeah. Gil's been involved with Habitat for a long time. And then as a company, we are sponsors in various ways to financially support Habitat, the local Central Valley Habitat for Humanity. And he's been on, like you mentioned, their board, and he's on their site selection committee still. And so that's one way that it feels very tangible. It's like that definitely is, you don't have to look hard to find out how that's impacting the community. Habitat does great work. But we also are financial supporters of VMRC and the great work that they do. Red Wing, the music festival that happens every year, is great for our community. It's a huge, it draws people in. It's very, very family friendly, and we're happy to support them. I know that there are a bunch of others that we support, but yeah, just financially supporting different organizations and trying to be involved with them as well, not just giving them money, but to actually try to be involved. And that's actually how we kind of narrow down who we are willing to financially support. We don't want to be just giving money. We want to be actually involved in some way.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to come back to one more thing that I see you guys do that makes a tremendous impact. You've been partners with us on events that we've done for years, and we've always stressed the term partner, not sponsor. But you've played such a crucial role in so many of the Live to Lead Harrisonburg events and the last two Leadership Legacy Experience events that we've hosted. And I hope you've gotten value from it, but I know you've added tremendous value to it. So that community involvement, even over in the how do we develop leaders across the community space, you guys make a tremendous impact there. Now, one other thing I'm going to share that you didn't, and it would be awkward for you to say it, so I'm going to say it, is I watch what you do in turn. And
Mm,
I've seen companies for the last 20 years. I've been involved with different companies that have internships. And in many cases, it's, hey, go file this, go do this. The interns that I've seen there, it takes time and effort from every engineer, every drafter, every planner, everyone involved at Colman Engineering, but they walk away with a whole different level of experience and exposure to the engineering field, a value add that most interns never get. They have
mm,
hands-on experience that's very tangible, and that's an investment on your part, time and financial investment. So you make a pretty substantial impact on both the community and the industry you're a part of, whether
mm.
it always resonates or not.
Thank you.
Now, this is a you question because I'll have this conversation with Gil at some other point in time. Talk about how the core values, if it's harmony, whatever, or whatever that core value is for you, has really driven you to make sure that you're investing the time, the energy, and in many cases is the money. I alluded to the partnership that you guys have had with us for a number of years into making sure that you're growing as a leader, not as a supervisor or manager, but as a
Mm.
leader so you can have that positive impact on the teams around
Yeah, it's not when I think about, yeah, like I said earlier, like serving people, I can do that. But in a leadership context, I do have a lot of insecurity. And so I've been really thankful to be able to work with you and Cindy through either Live to Lead, the legacy events, and just the training and the coaching. And it's like, okay, I need tools. I need actual things that I can do. I need accountability. I need hard truths when I need hard truth. And you all have been able to provide that through events and through the one on one coaching. The elite group with other business leaders has been huge. Getting to hear and learn from other leaders and to hear the good, the bad, the, and the ugly from them is helpful to make me feel like, okay, my insecurities are not unique to me. Yeah, like iron sharpens iron. Like we all, like I have my strengths, someone else has theirs, and we together can both become stronger. So it's been great. The community that you've built and the resources you provide are, yeah, I owe a lot to you and Cindy.
Well, no, Marie, I've got a book that's written. I'm working through the copy editing and the grammar process now, and I plan to publish it early 2027. That's going to be called Leveraging Leadership Growth. And it's around the premise of I'm not very good at much. I've never been talented. I tell people I was really good at baseball, except for running, hitting, and catching. And they're like, what the hell? What is that? What's good at baseball? That's my
Yeah.
point. But I've been blessed to have some amazing people in my life, and at different stages, they were the right people that I needed at the time, and I've been able to learn from. You and Gil are absolutely a part of that. You talked about the Executive Leadership League think tank group. That's a part of it. It stretches me.
Mhm.
Yes, we provide hopefully a level of value to everybody involved, but make no mistake, we get tremendous value from that interaction. That iron sharpens iron thing that you
Mhm.
said 100% accurate for us too. And I love how you said, hey, this is why we need to be there because we all feel like we're a little bit inadequate in some different ways. We've got some
Mhm.
insecurities, me and Cindy included. And praise God, we've got great people in our lives that we can lean on and do that. Thank you for
Yes.
such a fantastic response.
Mm. Good.
Now, you, as much as anyone else that didn't have a physical listing in the Values Advantage final chapter, real world examples, had a behind the scenes early look at that project more than anybody else, actually, more than anyone not named Cindy. And
Right.
you contribute. And you were very, very involved in helping make that contribution and so on. It's just
Mhm.
listed name. And I mentioned earlier, Colman Engineering was a very, very close partner with the event, but you've also done more. I remember the conversation that Cindy and I had with you and Gil. We were at the Substation Mexican Grill, and we were talking about how Craig and Kim Johnson have done all these things around values. And you said, gosh, I don't know that we could ever get there. And Nell-Marie,
Mhm.
in the 2 years since then, what we've seen you guys do as a team, I know it's taken time and work, but I don't think it was time and work you weren't already doing. I just saw you be really, really intentional about how you tweaked what you were doing with that time and energy, about what you think organizations stand to gain by the idea behind the values advantage. If we understand what our values are, how they play into what we do, how they serve our customers, and how we model them daily in our own activity, what can a company expect from applying tools like that?
I do really think it's, like you say, the values advantage. So we spend every Monday morning, we have our all team meeting, and we spend just 5 minutes every week talking about our values. And something that came up a few weeks ago was, I said, well, what about values at other companies you've worked for? Where have you seen that? And nobody, okay, everyone either said they had values that were written on a poster on the wall, but nobody ever talked about them and they weren't necessarily true or being lived out, or they just never had even stated values. So then in that situation, everybody comes with their own values or their assumed values. They assume what the company is valuing and what is it valuing today? What is it? It's a ship without a captain, or I don't know a good analogy, but you need a captain. You need somebody who's setting the direction for your ship, and the values and your purpose statement are that. So we're all in this boat together. We're all rowing in the same direction. That's our values. That's our purpose. And if you've got another company who doesn't have that, I don't even, I've actually always worked for companies that talked about and lived out their values. So I don't really know what it's like to work somewhere that doesn't have that. And I think I can take it for granted. But to hear the guys here talk about what it was like, it takes some getting used to be in a place where we're like, no, 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 we take this seriously. And thankfully, we've hired people who live out these values naturally. We've got some really solid people who just happen to align really, really well with our values. So it's not hard. It does take effort, but it's not.
It just takes intentionality to think about. And
Right.
like you, I've always worked in companies that have had values. I don't think I've ever worked for one that didn't have them listed, but I can say that I've worked in some that I didn't know what they were because we didn't. I
Hmm.
can say that I've worked in some that we talked about them, we just didn't live them.
Hmm.
And to your point, if we don't have that commonality and that frequent communication, that calibration, if you will, going on, then people bring their own definitions, even if the values are listed on the wall.
Yeah.
And it just gets muddy. It's easier. We do the hard work of making it simple that you said earlier. And
Hmm.
that's the goal of how do we make a very, very integral and complex process so simple that people just eat it, sleep it, breathe it, and it's part of who they are every single day. And there's massive results that come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing I thought, well, so knowing about my self harmony is super important. If I went to a company and they were all about the bottom line, just like how much money can we make? How quickly can we grow? I would, state it or not, I would feel the incongruency between my value and that
Mm.
because so stated or not, values matter. But when they're stated and they're clear and they're obvious, then you're working with a common language and that matters.
Indeed. And no, Marie, one of the biggest compliments that I think you've ever given me and Cindy, whether you meant it that way or not, I think it was truly in the form of a question. It was last July in our executive leadership lead think tank session. As we wrapped up, you says, I want to know what you and Cindy, what your vision is for your company and what you
Mm.
want to accomplish. And the fact that you said that says, we should probably talk about that more. But the reality is, in all the years that we've had the friendship, we've worked together and so on, that's never been a pushing presence. And I'm this thankful because I've never wanted it to be about us. I've wanted it to be about if we're helping you achieve what you want and need to do, everything else takes care of itself.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
therein means we've aligned on values. We didn't need to talk about the details. Our values are pretty well aligned. Even if the words aren't the same, the meaning is very much the same. And we've been able to have a pretty strong working relationship over going on a decade now. So thank
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
My last formal question for you is what advice would you give to someone that's, I'm going to say young professional, but regardless of age, take that out of the equation, but somebody that really wants to advance their career to become successful in leading, having a positive impact and influence with others. Now, that's not one and the same with being a supervisor or manager and executive. I scratch that, but somebody that really wants to grow and lead.
Yeah. Insist on always working with leaders who are the kind of leaders you wanna be like. I've had really great I'm really thankful to have had some really great leaders over the years, and I think what do they call it? It rubs off on you over time. For me, it took a long time, but you just like children model what they see. We all do that, even as adults. So my thing would be just get yourself around good leaders. Find those opportunities. Even if you're not working under your ideal leader, find one and spend time, however is appropriate. Ideally, I've said before, take a job under a really good leader, even if it's not your dream job or your field, just for a time to experience what that would be like and to take notes and take the things that you think that you would want to emulate and that really felt right to you. Make note of that. And if something's not going to be perfect, make note of the things you didn't care for. But when you do end up with a leader who's not who you want to emulate, it'll be obvious. And definitely, there are leaders who show you what you don't want in a leader or in yourself.
For the folks seeing this in our Leading at the Next Level community or on the 2026 Leadership Legacy Experience digital game plan, you probably saw my facial expression that Marie said.
Yeah.
You're hearing it on the podcast. You didn't get the benefit of that. So join the community or get the digital game plan product. One of the two. You're missing out if you're not, because I make some funny facial expressions. Goes on.
This is true.
Like, holy moly, what a powerful statement. If they're not modeling that for you, you sometimes painfully recognize it.
Yeah.
And I pictured faces, Nell-Marie. That's what happened. I pictured some good experience, some great experiences, actually, as you said
Yeah.
that. And I pictured some that I'm thinking, oh, dear God, I hope I never have to experience anything like that again.
Yeah.
And the person involved with that. And everybody does that. We associate it to our experiences. What a powerful answer. Now, I'm going to frame the unscripted question, then I'm going to talk about what's in the show notes. So you've got a chance to think through this. The last question I love asking, and I love the spontaneous responses, is what if I not ask you here that you really feel like fits in this conversation? Now, as you think about that a little bit, I'll talk about what I put in the show notes, because the reason we do these, we want to talk about a common theme, but more importantly, we want you to know the folks that we're blessed to be able to work with. And Nell-Marie and the team at Colman Engineering is 100% in that vein. So I've got the link to their website that Nell-Marie did all of the work on the website. It's colmanengineering.com. You'll see it in the show notes. I've got a link to their LinkedIn, a link to their Facebook page, and a link to Nell-Marie's LinkedIn, whether she likes it or not, because Nell-Marie's an absolute rock star. She likes harmony. She's pretty reserved, but she serves people in a way that everybody can learn from. So my hope is that you access, wherever you're catching this in the show notes, you access the different links and get to know more about Colman Engineering. It's not about, hey, I'm pushing their civil engineering services, albeit I think they're best in class and they've got a reputation for that, but more about what types of companies can you learn from, regardless of if you do the same work or not. Nell-Marie, what's your answer to that final question?
I think if you can align your personal purpose statement with the company that you're working for, you can be working toward your personal purpose 24/7, not just during your off hours. Yeah. So especially if you can find yourself in a company that does align, even easier. But I think no matter what, if you can, even if you have to shoehorn it, don't give up on your personal values. Try to align it, get them aligned. And then, 24/7, you're working towards your personal purpose statement.
Nell-Marie, Mark Cole, before we had a prep call in early May, I think it was May 1st, leading into the Leadership Legacy Experience. And he says, hey, Wes, do you mind if I talk about personal values at all? Because if somebody doesn't have their personal values aligned to the organization's values they're part of, or if they've never even thought about their personal values, it can create some incongruencies. And I said, Mark, I 100% want you to. He says, well, what if it creates some rifts in companies or maybe even some turnover? I said, Mark, it's going to, whether we talk about it or not. It's just going to be painful and we don't recognize it. We absolutely need to. So your statement is so powerful in that. Make sure that purpose is aligned. And if you think back to last year, that was a little bit of the theme. I put it on the leadership. It's some of their responsibility. We better find our purpose for leading, because it's hard. You talked about first, but as leaders, we should be helping our teams recognize their own purpose and connect it with what we're doing so they get that fulfillment. And then when that's in place, buy-in's never a question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, Nell-Marie, thank you for doing this. This was a wonderful experience. And I know it's not something that you were jumping up and down excited about, because you like harmony, and I'm not always the most harmonious person, but I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And this has been great.
As I bring this to a close, guys, if you have a need for continuing education credits specific in the human resources genre, if you will, Cindy and I, through Dove Development Consulting, have been approved providers with the Society for Human Resource Management and the Human Resource Certification Institute, gosh, for more than half a decade. And we have a tremendous body of work that has a ton of stuff approved for credit in our Leading at the Next Level full program. That's a membership based program. But if you have a need for that kind of continuing education credit, send us an email at admin@dove-development.net, and we'll hook you up with a kick the tires kind of exposure and probably some discounted opportunities for the monthly memberships. There is a medium tier, the next level tier, that has all those continuing education credits in it, but all of them close with the challenge to take action that makes a measurable return on investment in your organization so you can track it. Because while it's not all about profit, we got to pay the bills, and that's how we serve people at a higher level. Nell-Marie, thanks for taking the time to do this. Everyone else, make it a great day.